one of my last points is the internal dialogue. I see that the potential which you can see in this country between different ethnicities is not fully used. And what I mean with this is that there is also a big political will from a large part of the, at least, Serbian community to become better integrated into this society, but due to some administrative difficulties, it's extremely difficult sometimes to, for example, receive a Kosovo ID. I really would like to see this to be overcome. We need to find solutions for all people of Kosovo to live here, to become a full member of the society, to receive the Kosovo ID and to have the same rights as everyone else. So what we have seen in terms of language, there's a progress, but there's still some room for improvement. On the ID card, we definitely need solutions in cases where young people apply for IDs and they have not received that, even they tried hard because of some administrative difficulties, which I think is absolutely not necessary. We need a good practice on that. We need a mainstream that each and everyone can achieve this and can be equal citizens of that country. Last point, what I would like to stress is, of course, the energy strategy. We see that Kosovo is moving forward under rather difficult, let's say, conditions. It's not up to the government here to change this geopolitical, but also energy conditions actually in the entire or on the entire European continent. We face all over Europe and all over the European Union a situation with a harsh increase of the energy prices for the last weeks and months. There is quite a turmoil in the industry situation in many of our member states. So, of course, this also affects the industry and the economy here. We try to build up, I don't know, the solidarity energy union, and we see that it is with the increase of demand of fossils not coming from Russia, extremely difficult to satisfy industries, to satisfy citizens, to make sure there is no social turbulences in all of the countries, but also here in Kosovo. And that's why also as a Green, I hope that we can phase out of coal, we can invest together more into renewables. We can also convince people to save energy, to make sure that our energy consumption is being decreased over the next weeks and months to come. This is crucial for us, because saving energy at the moment also means supporting Ukraine, being solidarity with people in Ukraine, and making sure that we do not, at least in the European Union, we do not pay an extra dollar, extra euro for the war in Ukraine while depending on Russian fossil fuels. So I'm up to all the questions you might have. I have not tackled the question about the teachers' strike or other questions, so it's up to you, and you feel free to raise any questions which might be on your agenda, please.
Thank you. Just microphone because of the translation.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Besnik Tahiri, Kosova. I just want to ask you on the idea of Franco-German proposal. Are Prime Minister Kurti and President Vučić the people who saw that report or plan? And how do the two countries go forward? You said into an interview with Nova that there might be a next proposal which is not so good as this current one. And my second question is on the car license plates. The Americans, Secretary Blinken, has asked the Prime Minister to postpone for a year that decision. Do you maybe advise the Kosovo's government what to do in this case, and should they move forward from the 1st November with this decision, or should they postpone? Thank you, if I'm there.
Go individually for each and every one. Well, I think the French-German proposal is a new one and needs, I mean, as all compromises, it needs a political will. But what I know from this, it's a great chance to push Kosovo forward on the international and the European, let's say, path. It would be a huge progress for each and everyone in this country, and you would really see that on the European and international level, Kosovo would face a different, let's say, different phase of recognition. And that's why I think this is a big opportunity. It is not 100%, as all the compromises will never be 100%, but it's much more than I would expect, let's say, a couple of months ago, when the dialogue have just started and actually there was a stalemate for quite some years. You see, we will face the midterm elections in the US. We see that the overall political situation also in Europe is not becoming easier. So we would need to have a settlement of this Pristina-Belgrade dialogue as soon as possible. This is at least my recommendation. And that's why I'm saying I would ask each and everyone to look very carefully whether this is acceptable and this can be explained to the respective citizens in the country. I would say it is acceptable, but of course it's up to the decision makers here. I can't go into details while I have not anything on my hand, and I'm not one of the negotiators. I'm just saying I'm very much in favor of coming to, let's say, an agreement which is acceptable and which would be a huge progress. For the license plate, well, I mean, there's a good argument for extending the period, but I also share not the frustration, but the assessment of the Kosovo government, who says, well, in the end, this will be extended forever. At some point, we have to make a decision and say, we need to implement what we have said 11 or 12 years ago. And the Serbian side was aware of that. Nevertheless, nobody has an interest in any kind of a provocation or any kind of, I would say, aggression somewhere in the country. So what we need to see is, even if we stick to the deadline 31st of October, that we have a, let's say, smooth phase out of, smooth phase into the new phase. And you can be very creative in thinking of how to implement the new rule and what does it mean. What kind of warning you indicate, what are kind of fines you give to those respective people who have not changed their license plate and so on and so forth. I know that Miroslav Lajcak, together with Gabriel Escobar, asking for an extension, and there's a good reason for that. I think an extension would ease the situation and would give us more time for negotiations. But as I said, I do understand why the Kosovo government says, well, at one point, we have to move forward. Yeah? So if there is, let's say, room for a diplomatic extension, I would be very much in favor. But if the government understands that implementation does not mean confiscation from day one on, that is also very smart, because everything needs to be taken into account to prevent any kind of provocation and any kind of, let's say, attacks from one or the other side.
Good morning, Mirmanjas. I'm going to ask you in Albanian, please, if you have translate. Burim Zarici, Radio Televizion 21. Zonja Cramon, keni thënë se Kosova dhe Serbia duhet të bëjnë një farforme kompromis që të shtyjnë përpara negociatat apo marrëveshjen finale, nëse është sakt citimi. Për çfarë kompromisi po bëni thirrje dhe çfarë marrëveshje pritet të nënshkruhet në Bruksel, duke ditur që ka një intensitet të shtuar të thirrjeve për marrëveshje përfundimtare. A pritet të jetë marrëveshje me njohje reciproke në qendër, siç kërkon qeveria e Kosovës, apo një marrëveshje që nuk parasheh njohjen e menjëhershme Kosovë-Serbi, por që Kosovës i rezervohet ulësja në OKB, ndërsa për Serbinë antarësimin e Bashkimit Evropian. Dhe çështja e dytë tek liberalizimi i vizave, shumë kush apo disa zyrtare kanë lidhur këtë proces me dialogun Kosovë-Serbi. Sipas juve, është apo penalizohet Kosova që nuk po i merr vizat pikërisht për shkak të mos rezultatit në dialog, për shkak të një epilogi në procesin e dialogut? Faleminderit.
Very good questions. Thank you for them. Let me start with the second one. I think there is no punishment whatsoever on the visa, on the dialogue, or maybe the lacking results of the dialogue. No, that's for sure not the case. Because no matter which government was in office, there was no delivering on visa lib. And I mean, the discussion in the council are more about the domestic situation of those countries who are reluctant. So I would say, unfortunately, and this is what makes me so sad and so frustrated, that it is not in your hand. I mean, you really delivered on everything which is related to visa lib. You have fulfilled the criteria. The new revised report of the Commission is extremely positive. I read through this. There's nothing what they criticize. There's nothing what is lacking. So unfortunately, there cannot be linked with this, I mean, let's say the missing results of the dialogue. No, this is mainly, let's say, inherited by some discussions in the Council for different reasons. Some of the member states have reservations. We have been trying bilaterally to address them, to go there, to talk to the people. We try to get the facts, why this is so difficult. But to tell the truth, even with this, let's say, personal engagement, this is extremely difficult to understand what's going on. So I can't disclose more of that. The first question, well, I mean, I don't want to, let's say, to go into details here. But maybe one should see what is better for my country. Is it better to ask for everything at the moment, or to ask for 90% and then move forward? I could imagine for the people here in Kosovo, it would be better to get the 90% than nothing. This is my recommendation. But maybe people in the country would perceive this differently. But this is not up to me to decide. I can just share my personal recommendation, how I would decide and why I think this is a window of opportunity when the government or the majority in Congress will change, when we will see even more, let's say, right-wing parties taking over in the European Union. The situation will not become easier. We will see that the EU presidency from Sweden will go to Spain. Will this make things easier in the European Union? I don't think so. So everything which could be settled right now, it would be, I think, a better deal and a better solution for this country than everything which would be postponed. This is my, let's say, assessment of the situation.
In Albania ne asked këtu. Erdhëm pak vonë edhe na duhet të një qëndrim sa i përket liberalizimit vizave, a pritet të ketë vendimare këtë vit dhe cilat shtetet themi janë ato që kanë rezerva përveç Francës që ka iniciu këtë përfshirje në sistemin ETIAS? Faleminderit.
Well, I think you can expect a decision. My point is, thank you. I think you can expect a decision. That is pretty sure. It's just a question on what and how and when. So the decision is, I think, either in the middle of November or the beginning of December. But there is a question of, will this immediately lead to the new visa waiver system? And this might come with additional conditions, which I think would be absolutely unfair and cannot be justified. Or will we see then finally a date when visa liberalization would be granted to Kosovo, which I think is overdue and should happen immediately. So I think these are the two options which are now on the table. Apart from France, for different, as I said, domestic reasons, not rooted here, we saw more countries having reservations than just France. So why is this the case? I can't tell you. Some of the countries will face elections. Some of the countries have other, I don't know, questions regarding their own domestic security. I can't tell you what is the reason. I mean, honestly, we are speaking about 1.5 million. All the other countries enjoy already visa liberalization. The European Union is still in order, so there is no need to have this fear. And what we see when we, I mean, from a German perspective, most of the Kosovars ask for a Schengen visa for Germany or Austria, or some go to Switzerland. But I mean, those countries who have the reservations will not face a huge number of visa applications anyway. So even from the very rational point of view, it is not understandable why it is so difficult.
Any other question, please? Well, in that case, I would say that we can close today's press conference of Ms. Viola von Cramon. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll be staying one more day here in Kosovo, where Ms. von Cramon, I will just announce, will take part in the first Foreign and Security Affairs Forum on a distinguished panel with Mr. Ischinger and the others, and have another exchanges here in Kosovo. Thank you once again for coming, and until next time.